But let me ask you this. I'm seeing now, as in the last 6 months or so, I've been starting to pay more attention to cryptocurrency. And I'm watching some of these Bitcoin and crypto channels. And I'm seeing, so in 2017, when Bitcoin hit 20,000, it was a lot of just sort of speculators, people who didn't know what it was. And it hit 20,000 and then everybody sold off, right? And because it's blockchain and it's open source technology, you saw all the money move from the wallets to the exchanges, because that was people getting ready to cash out and take money. Now you're seeing money move from the exchanges to the wallets, and you're seeing all these huge companies investing in Bitcoin. JP Morgan Chase, PayPal, Square. I mean, you're seeing people like Raoul Paul, who used to be the head of Goldman Sachs, I believe, who's like, I'm putting 90% of my portfolio. Like, Wall Street capitalists are talking about Bitcoin. As I understand, I really like it because it's decentralized. It takes the power away from people like the Federal Reserve and the central banks and all that. And the fact that I'm seeing all this institutional money get into it, and I even had a financial person on the show, Christy I was on the show in September. She's on the show Boom Bust, and she said big companies are shorting the dollar because they think the dollar is going to be devalued. They think the economy is going to collapse. So how do you see that? It seems like it's and Bitcoin hit 20,000, 21,000. Oh, there's going to be this big sell-off. No, it goes up to 22. So how do you view this?
Well, I view Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general, especially Bitcoin, as the new form of gold for financial investors. It's a commodity. It's a financial asset. It's not a currency. It's the misnomer that people use, because if I'm going to buy a cup of coffee from the local coffee shop, I want to know how much it's actually going to cost me every day. And I don't want to see it fluctuate and try to figure out what my Bitcoin portfolio looks like today before I buy a cup of coffee. So it's definitely not a payment system type of thing. We use these terms, currency to refer to them. We use the terms wallet to refer to them. So it gives us the illusion that it's money, that it's liquid, but it's not. And most institutional investors treat it as an investment asset. So as an investment asset that is a physical commodity like gold or any other commodity or a crypto commodity, what's embedded in its value on a day-to-day basis is the psychological expectations and the emotions of the entire kind of mass of the financial system. It's the condensed feelings of people voting with their money, essentially, on whether you believe it's going to go up or it's going to go down, it's going to stay stable relative to other assets. So that's the way I see it. I don't see it as replacing the dollar anytime soon. Yes, its value will go up relative to the dollar for a while, but it can come down too, right? What attracts a lot of people to it, as you mentioned, is this decentralized feature and the anonymous feature of digital currency. But that doesn't mean that the US dollar is going to disappear. That doesn't mean that the collapse of the US economy is happening if everybody moves their assets to cryptocurrencies. At the end of the day, its value, it's still related to the US dollar because that's how investors interact with it. Think about the gold standard, right? When the value of the dollar was pegged to gold, that was the most suffocating thing to the US economy. In order to enter World War II, we had to get rid of the gold standard and move to a fiat system and reclaim the power of the purse of the federal government. In order to enter World War II, we had to get rid of World War II and the Great Depression. So it will. I hear a lot of people saying we need to have the U.S. government tie its currency to crypto and have it more decentralized and all of that. I'm not against the technology, the encryption technology for more digital payment system, more efficient, lower transactions cost, and more rapid, digital transactions with crypto technology. But it can't be. The federal government shouldn't hand the power of the purse to a decentralized authority to determine the fate of the U.S. economy. That's not what a democracy looks like, and it will never be a stabilizing feature. Now, as an investment asset, I'm totally for people going for it if they feel like this is the right thing to do and they know how to weigh the risks and how to diversify their portfolio. treat it like gold, treat it like any other commodity, and invest with, with an eye towards the risk that's associated with that portfolio. Financial regulation treats it as an investment commodity from a tax perspective, from a regulatory perspective. So that's the part where I would encourage people not to have the illusion that it's going to become money and that it's going to provide a stable payment system, reliable payment system, in the same way we have the US dollar. That doesn't mean that our payment system is ideal. It's got a long way to go to implement new technology, to implement better accessibility. We have close to 30 million people in this country who have no access to financial services, the unbanked and underbanked, when we have plenty of technological resources and plenty of legislative resources to create public banks, to create postal banks, to provide services for people who need financial services. Like, you live in the modern economy and you have no access to the highway, you have no access to the bank, you have no access to broadband. You're isolated in a completely different ecosystem, like a second-class citizen. And we have millions of people who live in this situation today for no good reason other than the abusive socioeconomic system that we have. So I can see the appeal for a crypto world where you escape the power of the government and go towards this, decentralized monetary system. It is attractive for that reason. But I still believe in the democratic process. I still believe that we can provide for all people and we can be prosperous without having to sacrifice privacy or security and things like that.
Yeah, because it seems, I don't know, that's interesting. It's an interesting angle that you're taking, because I'm seeing, countries are starting and like on there's all these altcoins and tokens and stuff being created. You've got Craigslist. Literally, there's a box you can check that says, "Do you accept crypto for your payment?" And you talk a lot about the unbanked, and that's a big thing. And it's providing financial freedom to a lot of unbanked people in third world countries, because they don't have access to a bank, but they have access to a smartphone, and they're using crypto to buy and sell goods in certain parts of the world. So it feels like it might, we already are using digital money for everything anyway. Like, I don't pay with cash much at all. And when I get paid, it's a check or a direct deposit, and it's just like ledgers on my bank's website.
Sure.
And all these digital payment services that I use every day, Venmo, PayPal for the show and other things like that. It just seems like crypto is just going to be a more sophisticated, decentralized version of that, because right now, like Wells Fargo, I don't know what their books look like. I don't know what they're doing with their money, but I know through the blockchain, you can see what it's not a personal address, but you know where the money's going.
Right, but the ledgers that we use in the banking system are all denominated in dollars, in a stable currency managed by the federal government, by the central bank, and so on. Now, it's the value of the dollar changes with inflation, changes relative to other commodities and other currencies in other parts of the world, but it's all a single unit, a unit of account. But once you transition into a crypto ledger denominated in other currencies, there's no guarantee that the value of your book will remain stable day to day, minute to minute, because you're talking about a speculative asset. So at the end of the day, the most stable ledger is the one that's denominated in US dollars, as of right now. It can be better encrypted, it can be more efficient, it can be more decentralized and more transparent and so on. But that has nothing to do with the technology. That has to do with the regulatory will of the government to impose more transparency, to impose more restrictions on corporate power and corporate abuse. And that's what we're fighting for. When we have a democratic government of the people, by the people, for the people, you're supposed to regulate the powerful corporations and provide more transparency for their shareholders, for the public in general, and so on, and to address tax evasion and all of these loopholes. To me, those are separate issues, but again, I see the appeal for somebody who's been frustrated with with the corruption in the system, with the abuse and neglect by the federal government, to want to move away completely from under the dollar system and move into a decentralized system. But I'll encourage people to acknowledge that the stability needed for a well-functioning national monetary system, it just cannot be provided by a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency at this point. Now, if the Federal Reserve decides, if the federal government decides, you know what, we see these cryptocurrencies, there's hundreds of them, and we're going to pick one of them and make that the new digital version of the dollar. So pick one thing, right? Ethereum currency or whatever, and make that now one-to-one based on the value of the dollar. That will be a cryptocurrency now managed by the government. It's like the government buying the technology, but it still be under the authority of the federal government. So instead of the government issuing digital dollars and printing dollars, it will issue digital cryptocurrencies. So that becomes the digital crypto US dollar, right? But then it falls under, then the entire ledger of our payment system becomes denominated in this crypto dollar, right? But we're not there yet. Yes, there are other central banks around the world who are thinking of crypto wallets for their customers, for their citizens, to kind of skip the development of the banking system step that they don't have, to move straight forward into a digital wallet type of system. But that's because of where they are in terms of economic development and where they need to accelerate that transition. But they're not giving up their national monetary policy and fiscal policy to a decentralized crypto system to run their economy, right? So technology is good, but also having rules and regulations and supervision under a democratic process is what provides stability.
Well, I appreciate your faith in the section. I don't know that I share that. All right. Well, I really appreciate you taking time on the show to explain what's going on.
Thank you.
From the MMT perspective, and to weigh in on your view on cryptocurrency. I'm just trying to give people as much information as I can.
Sure.
And where can people follow you online if you to get more information?
Well, we can find me on social media, on Twitter and other places. I teach at Denison University in Ohio, so you can find me there. I run the Global Institute for Sustainable Prosperity. You can find us also online and on social media. And you can follow, plenty of MMT economists on social media and interact with us. People like Stephanie Kelton, like Scott Fulweiler, and Bill Mitchell in Australia, and so many others.
Right on. Well, thanks for taking time to be on the show, Fadhel. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. Take care.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, that was Fadhel Kaboub. I just wanted to give it, I want to get different perspectives. He might not, like him and Christy, I might not agree all the way, but that's all right, man. We want to get different points of view. So I'll drop that clip. It'll be I'll put it on the MMT, and I'm starting a new cryptocurrency playlist as well. They're going to be two separate playlists, but that video will be on both of them. So, all right. It was good. What a fantastic talk, man. I just love giving different interesting people on here. So shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at grahamelwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.